Springtrap entering Dead by Daylight was something a lot of people saw as inevitable, but everyone still lost their minds when it happened, me included. Even though I wasn't a fan of the game, I was so hyped to see Springtrap make it. And now that it's been a while and the FNAF 2 movie is oh so close, I want to take the time to revisit him. I have always felt like there was something special about DVD Afton, but couldn't exactly pinpoint what. However, with the FNAF 2 movie hype and how Blighted Springtrap was being called a better Scrap Trap, I finally understood what. I think Dead by Daylight Springtrap is the best design for the character we have ever gotten to see, and I'd even say that thanks to that design, he has made for the best depiction of the animatronic killer. And as someone who loves the guy before DVD, and certainly more now, I feel inclined to discuss why. One thing that immediately stands out to me when looking at this adaptation of the man himself is the proportions. Springtrap in almost every depiction has the suit look like it's a part of Afton, most of the fleshy bits being wrapped around the metal endoskeleton, and with you not seeing much beneath the wear and tear, the bodysuit looks almost skin tight. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like this. I do like how the design reflects how William Afton sees himself as Springtrap, and how the two are synonymous to each other. The DVD design, though, doesn't follow that pattern. DVD Springtrap feels a lot bulkier despite being less so. Its body feels more human-worn and is a lot more segmented, and feels like an old animatronic suit. I've seen some people explain that the missing button on the design is a downside, and I don't get it. I think the less details of it makes it feel more old and thus match with the Withering far better. Speaking of, the Withering done here is much nicer to look at. One thing I love about this design is how much emphasis are on the spring locks beneath the suit. It makes it feel like it's more intentionally worn, rather than just a stick figure that got hit with some creepypasta shenanigans. It not only makes it feel more complete, but it also showcases a different importance of this suit. That this suit was the one used during the missing children's incidents. The withering in the flesh inside the spring locks makes it feel like the suit itself is revealing who the killer was the whole time. It also adds extra bravado, as it feels like William Afton is happily showing off the way he got killed, and embracing his undead nature. Thus, everything gives Springtrap an even more serial killer vibe. But the spring locks aren't just cool when in tandem with the suit, but are also really cool when on their own. The inner workings of the spring lock suit feels crushingly tight, even though not looking like that. While the metal body isn't squeezing up against Afton's skin, that skin is also very malnourished and decayed. This way of things, in my opinion, makes him even more haunting. It looks like an animal stuck in a bear trap or a fallen victim who was too late to escape. Speaking of, I love the way Afton's corpse looks. Behavior specifically took inspiration from real mummified corpses when making Afton, and I think it works perfectly. It's so gross and fleshy, but doesn't jump the gun. It also really sells that victim died in a trap idea I talked about earlier. My only nitpick is how it feels like there isn't enough damage done to it. It could use a few broken bones or dried blood, but otherwise, the body is perfectly fine. The head, on the other hand, it's alright, just not my favorite. Don't get me wrong, I like it. It feels rotten, and it's better than what existed before. The more I look at it, the more endearing it becomes, but I still think it's just missing something. Like how the body is missing a few broken bones, this thing feels like it's missing a lot of gruesome detailing. It looks a bit too smooth and normal, I think, for such a gruesome fate. I think just a little bit of dirt or blood could really take it home. Again, it's still done really well, it just doesn't do it for me as much as it does with some other people. I do like the different ways it's used though. Since it's usually just the mouth that you see, which is my favorite part of the head, it does not offset what the Springtrap design is going for. And besides, it's covered up by that amazing headpiece. This is what I think saved a lot of Springtrap's animations for me. Without that smirk or those eyes, I think many of his moments would have just come off and looked way too goofy. However, since they are there, him standing there while still kind of funny does work because the suit is making it clear that Afton is just a prick. Like, I see this face and I know that Afton would be grinning ear to ear like an absolute goon. You know, if he had lips. It also is so pretty creepy. It matches that serial killer look well with the eyes looking cold and calculating and that smile looking sinister. I think it's a great blend of making Afton look intimidating, while also showing how he thinks he's the coolest guy around and treats everything like a work of art. I think this makes more sense when you look into his jump scares. While others don't like them, I think they're great because it gives us so many Haunted House Theater Kid vibes. This guy is trying so hard to scare you and thinks he is the coolest doing it. I would know, because I've been like that before. Except I actually learned from my mistakes, unlike this guy who hasn't made a good jump scare for 10 years. On that topic though, that is another reason why I love Dead by Daylight Springtrap. He's a theater kid who thinks he's so cool and scary, and now is embracing this character that he made. One such example of this is his pizza knife. I don't think William Afton would have used a pizza knife to kill kids. However, I can totally see Springtrap using one to embrace himself as the pizzeria slasher. I also think Springtrap's pain is another example of this. There are several times, usually his roars, where Afton does clearly shake from pain. And I do think this is real, but he doesn't take it seriously at all. In fact, he seems to rather embrace that pain as it makes him look scarier. Then, while not being a design thing, I don't think I could bring up this more corny aspect of him without mentioning his voice lines. They come off as both a serial killer toying with their prey and a theater kid throwing out one-liners because they think they're cool. It's extremely cheeky and I find it to be a great reflection of not only this Springtrap, but everything we know about William Afton and what he later becomes. And if you think that somehow doesn't fit, Fazbear Frights was literally a haunted house attraction. I'm surprised it took this long for people to realize it. I also find it fun that the entity gives Afton the means to double down. By giving him security doors, a fire axe, and Buzzy as my friend calls it, the entity just allows Afton to engage in even more theatrics. I also want to point out how despite all of this, Springtrap is still very, very scary. Just because I can tell he's trying way too hard doesn't mean I wouldn't be scared if I saw an 8-foot tall animatronic with a knife. And if you ever do tire of this look, you have other skins to choose from. In fact, these skins are another thing I love about Dead by Daylight Springtrap. Each of them either match their inspirations or are just better than them, and so, I want to talk about all of them, from least to most liked. So let's get right onto the ranking. I want to start this off by giving a huge round of applause for my friend JesterCoreVA. They recorded pretty much all the DVD footage for me because they actually have these skins and are good at Dead by Daylight, so I didn't have to waste so much time giving y'all a good view of the guy. They are also just a really talented voice actor, so please, go give their content a watch. This video wouldn't have been the same without their help. However, there was one skin they didn't have, and I don't blame them. You know how I said Springtrap's cosmetics either match or exceed the ones they are at least inspired from? Well, that was a lie, and it's only because this one exists. I hate this toxic Springtrap. It's a very unbalanced design. Half of it is bloated in a extremely meh way in my opinion, and the other half is glowing a way too distracting purple. Then there's also the head, which for some reason barely got any of that treatment, and instead is colored a mute, boring indigo. Oh yeah, giant smelling serial killer animatronic? Let's cover him from the neck down in glowing glitter glue. The lore behind the skin is also just odd. It seems like it's trying to read as the FNAF AR version, but doesn't do that. Speaking of, they completely missed the point of Toxic Springtrap. Toxic Springtrap was meant to play with the nickname Purple Guy. I mean, it even looks like this specific sprite of him. The black eyes with the glowing white pupils, the open dark smile, and his whole body is, you know, actually purple. It's not like this wouldn't have worked either. I can totally see the entity hearing the name Purple Guy and deciding to play with that. I mean, it seems like that's what the lore wanted, but apparently not. Then there's also his knife, which is fine. I don't like it, but it's not awful. Just okay. Let's move on. I'm not gonna act like Clown Springtrap is a great skin either, but it's not bad. It's better than FNAF AR, and well, it's funny. The reason it exists is because the entity thought it was going to be funny. This is a skin that pokes fun at itself and is surprisingly faithful to FNAF AR. It has improvements like its bulkiness, cleaner head, wider eyes, and obviously that corpse. That actually has makeup on it, which is a nice touch. It's not a skin trying to be good, so I can excuse it. Only part I don't like in any way is the knife. It just feels a bit random. I feel like they should have tried to do a balloon knife in some way, but that's just me. With the rest of the skins all being really good, I may as well talk about the only blatant reskin, his Prestige Bloody variant. It's cool, I like it. Technically even more than some of the other skins we have left, since it's just the base model with a bunch of really well made blood. However, that doesn't mean there's suddenly a whole lot to talk about, other than making Springtrap feel more like a serial killer and making him a bit creepier. And now for the skin I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Blighted Springtrap. This custom actually makes me want to see more completely original skins for Springtrap because this one is very cool. Unlike the travesty that is Toxic Springtrap, this actually handles the glowing and bloated bits really well. I don't know DBD lore nor the Blight Serum all that well, but I love how it looks like the liquid had trouble finding mass to mutate and thus either really bloated what it could find, created glowing pores, or just made completely new limbs. It's also just very broken, which I appreciate, allowing us to see the true insides of the suit and Afton's mangled up body. I specifically like how the skull looks like a jack-o'-lantern. And then we have the elephant in the room, the Springtrap inspiration. This is a million times better, holy god, it's not comparable. Rather than looking like whatever that was, this thing actually looks like a suit going through a lot of damage and actually showing a not goofy inside. My only two complaints come with the knife, as it's a bit much, and the head. It's better than Scraptrap, but I'm not sure how I feel about it being torn up in the way it is. I think the art for the guy is way better than what we got, but it's not too distracting, just something that bugs me a tad. Overall, a really good skin and rendition of a deformed Springtrap. I really like it. While I could say this skin isn't much better than the FNAF movie, I'm comparing a 3D model to live action. That's like comparing apples to apple pies. This cosmetic is really faithful to the source material, like, to an impressive degree. I also like how much fun Matthew Lillard had voicing the guy and the voice lines in general. My only real complaint is how the mask is nowhere to be seen. Believe me, I love how they didn't Captain Phasma Matthew Lillard and actually incorporated his likeness. However, with just his face, his jump scares are just way too funny. At least with Springtrap, it looks like a monster is screaming at you, but this is just white man jump scare. Like father, like different continuity daughter, I suppose. They could have 100% made it so the entity spawned the headpiece on him during these moments, just so his jump scares weren't entirely silly. But I guess it makes up for how we likely won't see much of this version during the next movie, so it's a win. And hey, this is the first not a full reskin weapon I actually really like. Good job, Dead by Daylight. Glitchtrap. This guy, even without knowing anything of Help Wanted 2, is still one of my favorite FNAF characters ever, and certainly the one I find the creepiest. I have technically already talked about his design, but I just have to talk about it again. This thing feels like someone heard of the idea of a bunny suit used to kill kids and then made a fake model utilizing that idea. They also act and move so lopsidedly with every animation, like they have trouble balancing themselves in this unstable form. The way they move also feels like such a complete misunderstanding as to who William Afton was, and thus feels extremely unsettling and inhuman. Everything about Glitchtrap is great, and they managed to capture that here so well. Not only is almost everything one-to-one and done beautifully so, but they even add their own extra spin to things. The head is bigger, making it look like it's almost crushing the rest of them. Their wireframe knife looks fake and didn't have proper time to fully manifest, and then there are those purple, glowing, soul-piercing eyes. It looks like this creature has given up any desire to pretend friendliness, and instead chose to follow and stare at you as they begin the game of cats and mouse. Then, while not really a design thing, I just have to talk about that voice and those animations. This low, raspy, unfixed voice sounds so goddamn bone-chilling and is perfect for Glitchtrap. That voice is also actually accomplished by mixing two different genders, making it sound that much more unidentifiable and uncanny. Then you have the way it moves, just so slow and methodic. It feels like everything it's doing is pulled by some slow-motion predetermined will. It looks like it relishes in your struggle, just excited to see how it's going to eventually find you. Unlike Afton, who's excited to kill you by choice, this thing looks excited to kill you by nature. Nothing about it feels human at all, and I love it. I seriously can't get over with how much I adore this Glitchtrap skin. They took my nightmare, perfected everything, and added new things that managed to make it better. God, this skin is so beautiful. Springtrap has always been a really cool character in every sense to me. And while in what way I have liked him has evolved over the years, he is still a really cool character. And thanks to Dead by Daylight, I like him more than I ever did. This crossover made my personal favorite depiction of the man himself in terms of design, mannerisms, and overall personality, and even went further with his skins. Obviously, there's more to this chapter that I didn't talk about, but are still really, really well done. I can tell that Scott and the team really cared about this crossover because there's so much heart and soul in it. And obviously, it paid off well. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it didn't. But that's all I have to say about it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider doing the fun like and subscribe. And hey, my commissions are open if you're interested. But with all that, I have to go back 6 feet under, but I'll catch you guys later.